Hey, what's going on? It's about 6:45 in the morning on Good Friday 2011. Today's April the 22nd, and of course Easter weekend is this weekend, and I'm actually getting ready to go out of town here in just a little while, so I'm going to try and upload this video so I can take a nap and then hit the road later on this morning. So anyway, I want to just record a quick video and just share some thoughts about Brian S. Redd, and just want to say to Brian, Brian, I heard about what happened earlier this week. I was real shocked to hear that, and real sorry about what happened as well. It just goes to show that we just never know what's going to happen. I mean, even those of us that are in the best of health, and living life the way we should be and things like that, we just never know what's going to happen. I mean, you just don't know. It's just proof that, anything can happen to anybody at any time, regardless of what age you are. And, I think, you're in good spirits about this. I saw your video earlier this morning, and, I like your attitude on that. And I think that's what's going to really help you pull through more than anything is the fact that you're staying positive and, and trying to see the light at the end of the tunnel. That's always a good thing. And I also want to say that I agree with what DJ Advise Morrow said, and I also agree with what Lee Mills said. I watched both their videos this morning as well, and they had a lot of encouraging words too, and I agree with that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I know what you're going through, because quite frankly, I've had things happen to me before, and people would say, "Yeah, I know what you're going through," when they really don't know what I'm going through. So I'm not going to say I know what you're going through, because I don't. I've never been through anything like that, so I'm not going to say that I know what you're going through. But what I can do is maybe give you an encouraging story that may help you out. And even though I've never personally been through what you've been through, I could tell you from firsthand experience what we went through with my grandfather. And my grandfather, back in the spring of, or not the spring, it was the fall of 1993, when I was a senior in high school, he suffered a stroke. And just like you, he was paralyzed on one side. Of course, he was a lot older than you. He was, I want to say he was maybe 71 or 72 years old at that time. And he was living in North Carolina, and of course, we were living in Florida. And he suffered a stroke and ended up going in the hospital. And, well, the doctors, they didn't give him a very good prognosis. I mean, they said, of course, yeah, he was going to live and, and things like that. But the thing is, he wasn't going to be able to drive again, or he was never going to be able to live alone again. At least that's what they told him. And, we went up to North Carolina, and we went and saw my grandfather in the hospital. We were trying to explain this to him. We told him, we said, well, why don't you come down to Florida and live with us? Well, he wouldn't have that. He said, no, he wasn't leaving North Carolina. He wasn't going to, come and live with us. So we said, okay, why don't you just come down and stay with us for a little bit? Well, he agreed to do that. But, in the back of our minds, we knew that, we were telling him he was going to come down and stay for a little while, but, we knew that he probably wouldn't be going back home again. At least not, to live up there. We were going to keep his house and everything and take him up there to visit and stuff, but we knew that he wouldn't be able to live back there again. So we moved him to Florida, and the thing is, the doctors in Florida kept saying the same thing. They said, well, he's never going to be able to drive, and he's never you're never going to be able to live alone again, so you just need to learn to accept that. And he kept telling us, he said, I decided to come to Florida and stay with y'all for a little while. He said, but I am going to end up moving back home eventually, and I'm going to go hunt with my friends, and I'm going to go back up there and live the life that I was living. And of course, we didn't really try to, tell him otherwise. I mean, we thought, well, why take his hope away? You know what I'm saying? But I am happy to say that my grandfather started doing better. I mean, he started having people come into the house. They were doing rehab with him right there at the house. Had a guy that came and worked with him on his motor skills. And as my grandfather said, the guy was an idiot who just made him dig marbles out of Play-Doh. But it helped out. So anyway, my grandfather had a way of looking at things, and he pretty much spoke his mind. But he kept telling us, I'm not going to be living here forever. I'm going to end up going back to North Carolina eventually. And I'm happy to say that he ended up getting his motor skills back, and he began to walk. And he at first he wasn't able to walk; he was in a wheelchair. But then he moved up to a walker, and then about I don't know, 7 or 8 months later, he was using a cane, so he was able to get around. And he fell a couple times, but the thing is, though, about the fall of 1994, a year later after his stroke, he was well enough to move back home. And my dad drove him back up to North Carolina, and told him that that he could live back there at his house, and that was good. And we had a lot of relatives up there that came by and checked on him and stuff. But he lived in his house there. Now he was never able to drive again, but he was still able to live in his house again. And he went hunting with his buddies. Of course, he never carried a gun again, but he did go hunting with his buddies. So that was one thing he liked to do. But the thing is, that was his element. That's where he loved. He loved living in North Carolina. He didn't really like Florida too much. We'd taken him out of his element and moved him back down to Florida with us. And he wasn't happy there, and he had his mindset that he was going to make it back home and live alone again, and come hell or high water. That's just the way my grandfather was. I mean, you tell my grandfather that he can't do something, he was going to do everything he could to prove you wrong. He was going to prove to you that he could, and he did that. And I'm happy to say that he lived the last 2 years of his life up there at his house where he was happy. I mean, that's what he enjoyed doing, and I'm real happy about that. But he passed away 2 years later in 1996 due to cancer, which was totally unrelated to the stroke that he had. But you know what? It just goes to show you that you put your mind to it, and you stay in positive spirits, and no matter what the doctors say, nothing is impossible. So that's kind of the way that you need to look at that. When they're telling you, you may not be able to do this or that or anything else. Just think about my grandfather. They told him the same thing, and well, he ended up living the last 2 years of his life up there at his house in North Carolina, happy, with his friends and everybody else. So and that's something when I look back now. I mean, I'm glad that he was able to do that, and it really made me feel good knowing that that when he finally did pass away up there, he was where he wanted to be, and he was happy. And that's what the most important thing is. So that's the way you got to look at it. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end this video. Just want you to know that you're my thoughts and prayers. Certainly do appreciate all your videos. And I tell you what, if it hadn't been for you, I don't think I would have known what an LED light was. So I think my DJ service has definitely grown, and with all the products that you've been doing demonstrations on, the gig logs and everything else, can't thank you enough for that. And I've also enjoyed being able to have the chance to hang out with you in Vegas, which is why I'm telling you now, get well so that we can see each other in Vegas again next year. Okay, so we're all pulling for you, and we certainly do wish you well, and stay in good spirits, and just remember, think positive on everything and on the outlook. And I think you're going to be back sooner than you think, and we'll look forward to seeing more videos from you soon. Till next time, practice and enjoy.